Hello everybody, welcome back. My name is Eric and let's just get right into it. The other day, a couple days ago, I was in Shanghai. NIO invited me up there and some other members of the media and social media and all that stuff for experiencing the new Power Swap Station 3.0, next generation battery swap station. So you've already probably seen the Power Swap Station in action. If you haven't, you can click on previous videos, you can see those. On my channel, typically I don't usually just like sit in my house or sit in the room and just like talk about things. I like to go out and do stuff and experience stuff. But for today's video, I thought it might be interesting because NIO talked to us about their strategy with NIO Power. And they also talked about how in the past, they've typically only really done media workshops and media presentations specifically for Chinese media in China. Of course, in Europe, I'm sure they've done things in Germany, in German language or in English, or Netherlands, similar things. But here in China, they're reaching out to foreign journalists, foreign media, even people like me who are a NIO user, and I guess now former NIO user, and they want to share stuff that they're working on and do it in an English language environment. I've seen a lot of comments on my YouTube channel. I've seen comments elsewhere of people who say that NIO as a company doesn't really reach out enough to people, especially investors. They don't tell us about what their strategy is. They don't tell us about what their plans are. And while I don't necessarily agree with that, I do think that NIO, at least from what they told us the other day in Shanghai, was that they are going to start working to reach out more to people in English from here in China. So with that being said, NIO had a media day, a workshop for demonstrating the new Power Swap Station. NIO also showed us or told us that they had a workshop for us discussing their strategy and moving forward what they want to do with not just Power Swap, but just the whole recharging process for vehicles, not just in China, but also in Europe as well. So essentially what I'm going to do today in this video is report on what they told us about their strategy for NIO Power, what their future is for NIO Power with regards to Europe, and talk to you about the Power Swap Station 3.0. Now, I don't want to editorialize too much because, you know, they told us directly what they want to do, what their plan is. I didn't record it. I just have what I took of notes. So I'm only going to hit, you know, what I find are maybe the most interesting points. And I hope I don't misrepresent anything that they told us. But this is what I really took home from the media workshop. So the first portion of the media workshop that they did for us was run by Dr. Fei Shen, and he is the Senior Vice President of Power Management with NIO. So what he told us is that NIO's main goal for recharging is to make an experience that's better than an internal combustion engine car and refueling and going to the gas station. So that's their top level goal within NIO Power as a company. In their minds, they say there's 4 scenarios that are better than refueling and 1 that is equal to refueling. So we're going to talk about the first 4 scenarios that are better than refueling. The first is just charging your car at home. Most people who are, you know, living in the States who have an electric car, they recharge their car at home overnight. They plug it in and they don't even think about fueling except you know, on road trips or when they're far away from their home. The second scenario for easy recharging is, you know, like maybe a level 2 charger at a shopping mall or something, or a movie theater when you go and park somewhere for a few hours and you just plug in and you forget about it. The third scenario would be power swapping. And then the fourth scenario would be one click for power, which is in the NIO app. You just click and somebody can come and refuel your car with the mobile charging van, or in some scenarios, they can also come and pick up your car and drive it to a power swap station and swap the battery for you, and then drive it back to where you originally were. So those are the 4 scenarios that are better than refueling. The 5th scenario for refueling is just like a DC fast charger, which they say is comparable to refueling at a gas station, or maybe even worse than charging at a gas station for an internal combustion car because it takes longer. So NIO's generally really focused on making a better experience than refueling, so they focus on those 4 scenarios. According to NIO, the most convenient recharging solution is to charge at home, and about 180,000 NIO users out of 300,000 plus in China have a power home installed. In addition to that, NIO is the car brand in China that has the most chargers installed in China, with over 14,000 built, so even more than Tesla. And then they told us that over 80% of the power charged by NIO Power is for non-NIO users. So that's people driving a BYD, a Tesla, an Xpeng, etc., charging at the NIO superchargers or the destination chargers. So NIO Power's philosophy is that every single EV charger should be able to power every single electric vehicle. So you might say that doesn't necessarily comport with power swapping, right? Well, not necessarily so. We're going to talk about that later and what they told us, so stick with me. So when NIO first started, almost 100% of charging or refueling, recharging was done via charging. That was because there was no power swap network. Currently, over 56.8% of power that is replenished in China is done by power swap for NIO vehicles. That means 43.2% of power replenished is done via charging. And they say currently almost 70% of NIO users live in what they call the power swap district, which means they have NIO power swap station within 3 kilometers of that person's home. Now, NIO really utilizes data to see where their user demand is, where their users live, where they frequent, and that's where they place their power swap stations. Generally speaking, that's what they've always done. Now, recently they've also taken votes and suggestions online where they should put future power swap stations. Currently, they cover 5 vertical and 3 horizontal expressways and 8 major cities. But they said here in the future, after this year, with 1,000 new power swap stations being installed around China, they're going to cover 9 vertical and 9 horizontal expressways and 19 major metropolises that will be fully covered. NIO's recharging strategy, refueling strategy, that they want to serve every single company, every single EV, that's not just lip service. What they told us is that 54 different EVs have been charged up. 54 different brands of electric vehicles have been charged up via one click for power. So it's not just NIO vehicles. So people will go on the NIO app if they have a Tesla, if they have a whatever the car is. If they need power, they will get on the NIO app and they will click one click for power, and a NIO charging van will drive to them and charge up their van. You've seen that happen for me in my NIO, but other car owners are using that service all across China. However, with the way that China's been developing their infrastructure rapidly, like they do for everything here, is over the past couple of years, NIO went from 500 mobile recharging vans, first generation mobile recharging vans is what they used to have, which you've seen again in my videos, where they go to your car and they charge you up with a diesel generator. Well, now they've pretty much eliminated those first gen charging vans. They went from 500 vans to now under 200 all across China. And they're second gen vans where they're not using a diesel generator anymore. They're not fully recharging your car. They have a better solution where they only charge you up enough to get you to where you need to go, which would be a power swap station or a fast charger or a destination charger, whatever it is that you actually need. When you call for one click for power, a mobile charging van, they're replenishing less power for you, but it's faster, it's more efficient. They're not utilizing a diesel generator, that sort of thing. And in the future, it seems that they will continue to reduce the number of mobile charging vans. However, those mobile charging vans, previously, the Gen 1s, they only were built for recharging cars, but the Gen 2 charging vans, they actually have repair capabilities. So if you have a flat tire or whatever other problem with your car, these vans are not strictly for charging. So it's a more streamlined process. So let's now talk about the Power Swap Station 3.0. I got to experience it. You've seen it. It's really cool. It's faster. It's quieter. There's less shaking involved. Pretty much everything about it is better. But let's see what NIO had to tell us about it. First of all, we're going to be talking about looking at it from the outside, dead on. So to the left, you have what they call the battery hotel. The battery hotel can house up to 21 batteries. Gen 2 was 13 batteries. Gen 1 was 5 batteries. Now, in that battery hotel, of course, they don't have to put 21 batteries into the power swap station. If they are putting a power swap station in a place that doesn't have such a huge amount of NIO users or huge demand, then they maybe only put 10 batteries there or 7 batteries, or it doesn't matter. But for future proof, they can hold 21 batteries. Now, the process is faster because, again, when you're looking at the power swap station, first of all, when you pull in, your old battery gets pulled out and it gets put over to the right-hand side to like a holding area. And the fresh battery is already prepared, so that slides in, pops into your car, and then once that's done, the old battery will leave the holding area and go to the battery hotel to charge up. So it makes the process a whole lot faster because you're not putting the old battery into the same slot over here as the new batteries and then having to swap it out and then get the new battery and put it in. So there's essentially 2 cars underneath the power swap station. So that speeds it up considerably. The other thing about the new power swap station is it's more flexible in the sense that different size batteries. So if you have different brands, maybe there's other car brands currently in China that are starting to do power swapping. if they want to use the NIO Power Swap Station, they actually can. The tracks on the Power Swap Station 3.0 are actually wider. The whole entire unit is much more flexible. The batteries can be different sizes. Like I said earlier, NIO's strategy with power swapping, or just NIO Power in general, is they want every EV charger to be able to refuel or recharge every EV. They don't want proprietary chargers everywhere. So if you are a company that's doing power swapping, you can theoretically utilize NIO's technology and expertise to make your car compatible with NIO Power Swap Station 3.0. Okay, another thing that NIO has done to make the Power Swap Station 3.0 hold more batteries, be more efficient, be bigger. First of all, they took out some of the components of generating the power, or the transformer. I'm not sure exactly the technical language here, but they put it outside of the main power swap station box. They also took out the kind of staff quarters or living quarters. You know, in Gen 1 and Gen 2 power swap stations, most of the time they were manned by staff. Of course, Gen 2 is possible to be autonomous, and many of them in China are currently autonomous. NIO actually told us about half of the Gen 2 power swap stations in China are now currently running fully autonomously. But they still had the staff quarters, essentially, a place where staff could sleep or eat or, you know, make a drink, make coffee. Now it's gone. It's all, the whole unit is for batteries. So what does that mean for Gen 3 power swap stations? Now, this is something that I think most people who are investors and are worried about their money being wasted by NIO, they're going to be happy about is these stations are fully autonomous, 100%. Of course, somebody can go and, you know, monitor it if they want, but there's not going to be staff at any of these because there's no place for the staff to live, to sit, to sleep, to rest. It doesn't exist anymore. These power swap stations will be 100% fully autonomous. No more worried about paying hourly wages for a staff member to sit there and push a button or watch a car change batteries. That's done. And so what does this mean for Europe? Because I know for European NIO users, when I was in Europe and even just checking the app sometimes, I've seen people upset about the hours of operation for power swap stations. I think it was over Christmas. I can't remember exactly. People were mad because the stations were closed. They're like, what's the point of this if I can't actually use it? You know, when I have a holiday, I can't go swap my battery because there's no attendant there. So according to what NIO told us is in Norway currently, about half of the stations, they say, are running autonomously. You know, initially, when new users are trying to figure out how to use the power swap station, and when, you know, just people aren't sure how it's going to work, they wanted to have staff there all the time, and it takes training and takes time. But they said in Norway, just like in China, about half of the second-gen power swap stations are now fully autonomous. I'm not sure if that's really the case. If you're a Norway user, please comment, let me know. I haven't seen that necessarily on any videos online yet, but of course, you know, if that's the case, that's awesome because that saves a lot of labor costs for NIO. Now, they did say Power Swap Station Generation 3 will be entering Europe in Q3 of this year. So for the next, you know, couple months, they're going to be only installing Power Swap 2.0, but they said in Q3, the Hungarian Power Swap Station plant will be making Power Swap Station 3.0 stations, and they will be installing them across Europe. So look forward to that. Now, that was essentially their NIO Power presentation. They really focus on making power available for everybody, for every EV brand, and they really focus on making it a better experience than refueling your car at a gas station. But there was also a Q&A at the end of the presentation, and some people asked some questions, and here's a few of the things that were talked about. One of the questions was, is the Power Swap 3.0 station, is it a huge money burn? Is it a cash sink? And he said that over the course of from Gen 1 to Gen 2 to Gen 3, there have been tons of cost reductions significantly across the board. That doesn't mean that a Gen 3 swap station is cheaper than a Gen 1 swap station, but they've managed to create, you know, economies of scale and other technology improvements that have made the stations in some ways cheaper. If you want to talk about like service capacity versus the cost, so like let's say in the beginning you only have 5 batteries at one power swap station, and the cost is X amount, and then now you have 21 batteries, and you can do over 400 swaps in a day, so your capacity is greatly increased. And maybe the price is now Y amount, but that Y is not significantly different from the cost of X. They wouldn't tell us exact numbers, but that was essentially the gist of it. PowerSwap 3.0, the value is much greater than PowerSwap 1.0. Now, somebody also asked, like, over Spring Festival, you're giving away, free charges for everybody. There was no charging cost. It didn't count against your 6 free charges per month as a NIO user. And they asked, what's up with that? And NIO said that actually the revenue from charging over Spring Festival was more than the cost of giving PowerSwap to NIO users. So over Spring Festival, all the EVs in China, not just NIO, were charging up at NIO fast chargers and destination chargers, and they were spending money to charge their cars. And that revenue was actually much greater than the revenue lost from giving away free power swaps. But they said the value that the customers get, they can't really put a price on that. They also said that the Alps sub-brand that NIO's making will utilize the PowerSwap Station 3.0. So presumably the size of the battery is going to be slightly different from the NIO vehicles. But like I said, PowerSwap 3.0 is going to be very flexible. And so they said Alps sub-brand will definitely be able to use PowerSwap 3.0. So I don't know if that was announced yet, but there you go. They said currently with 1,300 or so PowerSwap stations in China, there's about 12,000 backup batteries, or there's 300,000 or so vehicles on the road. So it's not really that many extra. But again, the service and the peace of mind and battery as a service, all that stuff, it provides great value to NIO users, and it makes their top line goal of making power swapping or recharging your car more convenient and better than refueling. And then again, regarding Europe, somebody asked why is it so slow to make even 100 power swap stations when in China you can build 1,000. And he said, in a big energy company from Europe actually came to China recently and talked to NIO about it, and they said, in China we could build this in 2 weeks. We could, from proposal to what we want to put together for where we want to put a power swap station, we could do it in 2 weeks. And in Europe, that might take over a year. It's just the way things are done in Europe. It's much slower. There's more regulations and red tape and approvals you got to get. They said the reason they're not building so many power swap stations in Europe isn't because they're not hitting their sales targets or subscription targets in Europe necessarily, but it is because they just can't get the approvals and everything fast enough. But they're working on it. They said they're going to try to hit 100. That's a very ambitious target for this year, but they're going to try to hit 100. And if they don't make it, it's mainly not because of them or their talented people at NIO Power in Europe, but it's more due to red tape and that sort of thing. So those are the main real key points and issues that we talked about and that NIO shared with us at the PowerSwap Station 3.0 launch the other day in Shanghai. I'm not usually like a news reporter here on this channel, but I do think that if NIO does continue to do these foreign or English language media workshops and activities for us here in China, that would be really cool, and I can continue to share news with you. And hopefully you won't feel like NIO is not providing enough communication anymore. We'll see. I don't know. Let me know what you think. You'd probably rather hear it, directly from the horse's mouth and not filtered through me. But at this point, it seems like that might be what they're doing. Not just me specifically, but through the media. And I personally think it's a good strategy. I think it's a good thing. They're going to have a lot of, probably they're going to have a lot of reporting on this event. There's going to be other YouTube channels, I'm sure. There's going to be probably China CNEV Post or Car Scoop China or all these other groups that are going to be reporting on the event, and hopefully in the future similar events. And maybe you might understand more about what NIO's strategy is, what their goal is, and what they're really doing out here in China. And it's cool because they shared us information about Europe too. So I don't know what they're doing in Europe personally for workshops and media and things like that, but you might get more information out of China at this point if they do continue to do things like this, where they told us about not just China but also what they're doing in Europe and their strategy out there. So I think that's really cool. Let me know what you think. Let me know what you think about PowerSwap 3.0. Anything else shared in here? Do you think refueling is actually a pain point for people in internal combustion cars? I know for me, I love the fact that at home in the States, we just charge the Tesla at home in the garage. I know that for me in China, I love that I can just power swap almost anytime anywhere currently in China. Even last year when I had my car still, they were everywhere. It was perfect. And in my opinion, it's, NIO really hits their goal of being better than the refueling experience, whether it's one click for power or power swapping or destination charging. I think they're doing a good job. So anyway, the event was cool. This was cool. Q&A was cool. Got to meet more people from NIO. All cool. Coffee was good. They loaded me up with so many coffees. I'm trying to quit coffee, but that's how it goes. I don't know. So people that don't like the NIO's a coffee shop too. Sorry, I got so many lattes the other day. And I enjoyed them. So anyway, thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys later. Bye-bye. Take it easy. Adios. Auf Wiedersehen. Goodbye.